Welcome to another episode of Tamra Simons Live and the Real Estate Power Chat. Today's guest is Chris Soignier, who started out in corporate finance, which led him to realize he wasn't quite cut out to be a W-2 employee. So if this sounds like you, don't miss today's episode as we dive into Chris's real estate journey. But as you know, first things first.
This is Tamra Simons Live, where real estate agents from around the globe come together to grow, collaborate, and expand their business. Where we take our inspiring conversations and put them together to create dynamic connections. This is the Real Estate Power Chat.
Welcome, Chris. Thanks so much for taking time out of your day to tell us about your real estate journey.
Oh, absolutely, Tamra. It's my pleasure to be here. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. So to start this off, since we're just getting acquainted, how about we just kind of give us a little bit of your real estate journey and how you kind of got into this game of real estate?
Okay, so probably a little different than most real estate agents. So I was actually working in corporate America, doing corporate finance, and somewhere, I'm not sure where the newspaper at or on the internet somewhere, I saw an advertisement for a Rich Dad, Poor Dad seminar that was coming to my area. And I thought, it's like, hey, I had nothing better to do that night. Thought I'll go check it out, maybe learn a little bit about real estate. And I had not read Rich Dad, Poor Dad or anything. I was just familiar with the brand and Robert Kiyosaki. So I just went and, he talked about stocks, options, which I was already very familiar with. And then real estate, and just kind of opened my eyes like, hey, maybe I ought to learn more about this asset class. So, of course, they got me in their funnel, and I signed up for a weekend class in real estate and one for stocks and options. And learning about real estate, it really opened my eyes then about the possibilities, but I was kind of lost. I really didn't know where I wanted to go. And so I went to a local real estate investment club meeting that's led me to a group called Lifestyles Unlimited that got me into multifamily. So started investing in multifamily as a passive investor, which I still do today. And my mentor over at Lifestyles actually had me read The Cash Flow Quadrant by Robert Kiyosaki. I read that and finished that book almost to the exact day I was fired from my job I had. And I just had this epiphany. It's like, I'm not meant to work for anybody. I was making good money, but I wasn't happy and everything. I was stressed and, no work-life balance, and just, it wasn't a good situation. So I went and decided I didn't have enough capital in multifamily at the time to make a living at it. So I decided I'm going to have to go to single family route. So started doing flips, wholesaling, rentals, seller finance, anything I could to keep paying the bills. We had a pretty good lifestyle at the time. When we used to have a six-figure income and a six-figure lifestyle, now we just had a six-figure lifestyle with no income to support it. So
Yeah.
I had my back against the wall, but I really, really did not want to go work for anybody else again. So got that going. And then as I was doing these flips, talking to realtors and everything, all of a sudden I got this idea. It's like, hey, wouldn't it be great if my wife was licensed so she could sell my flips, improve our profit margin? And so she kind of shook her head and agreed to do it, but she wasn't really taking any action. So I said, okay, I'll just get my real estate license and I'll be my only client. And so that plan failed miserably, but I guess God has his own plans for me, and I'm glad that I am where I am today. So
That's awesome. It sounds like, everything just kind of aligned the way it was supposed to go for you.
yeah, just, the funny thing, it was in high school, I took some kind of, I don't know, the career interest test. It wasn't really aptitude, but the high school counselor, they asked all these questions with the test, and then came out the result that I should be a real estate agent. I said, no way, I'm not doing that.
I learned you today.
I'm come around full circle, and better late than never.
Oh, that's awesome. So you started off in multifamily, but you obviously didn't stay there.
Well, I still invest in that space.
Mhm.
Yeah, I started off multifamily as an investor, not an agent.
Right. So when did you move into actually working as an agent, or did you?
Well, so I left corporate America March 2015. I actually got my license on Halloween of that year, so I can always remember my anniversary easily. And so now I guess it's been about 7 years I've been licensed and everything.
Nice.
And again, at first the intent was really just to sell my own flips. I started having some investor friends ask for help, so kind of picked up some business almost unintentionally through that network and everything. And then, I was at 2 different brokerages my first 10 months of the business. I followed my mentor from my first brokerage when she left about halfway through that 10 months. And then I discovered eXp, and the rest is history.
Now, how did you find eXp, or did eXp find you?
I think eXp found me. I was actually really happy and content with my broker. I wasn't really looking to make any moves, but I started hearing some rumblings around about it, but not really anything I was looking into closely. But then my sponsor, Ian Flanagan, he was actually conducting a seminar on, I think a lot of it was really focused on seller financing with his business partner. And he had just switched over to eXp. We're just kind of chatting in the halls in a break and everything. And it kind of came up, and, it was just very natural. And once I heard about the business model and how it worked and everything, it was a no-brainer for me.
Absolutely.
I think I like to say, I think I was probably his easiest recruit ever.
Well, one thing about eXp is you can have a brokerage within a brokerage. So you don't necessarily, you can take out that principal broker out of the equation and still run, your own brokerage within the brokerage.
Absolutely. I have my broker's license, and sometimes people ask me why I got my broker's license, or, what are your responsibilities? It's no different than an agent. The only reason I did it is really for tax purposes.
Right.
I don't know about elsewhere, but in Texas, you can only be paid through a legal entity if you have a broker's license. So it saves in the FICA and Medicare.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Well, there's benefits and perks to being self-employed.
Absolutely. I will never go back.
Yeah. Well, I think once you catch the entrepreneur bug, it doesn't leave. It just kind of sticks with us.
Yeah, I can see that. It's my first career served me very well, and no regrets. I loved it and everything. But I didn't really know better. Now it's like there's no going back. I think I'd probably be pretty unemployable.
I think most of us are that way. Now, you mentioned a mentor. Now, I'm a certified mentor with eXp, and I highly advise everyone to have a mentor. And it sounds like your mentor served you well.
Yes, I'm a certified mentor at eXp as well. And I've had and still have many mentors in different things. I've had a multifamily mentor. I've had one for single family investing. I've had numerous mentors as an agent, both to help me with production as well as agent attraction and mindset. So, I really invested deeply in, mentors, coaches, all kinds of self-improvement and everything. And, a lot of times there's not always an immediate benefit, but over time it's really compounded. And, I would not be anywhere near where I am without all the support of those folks.
Absolutely. So you attribute some of your success in real estate to your mentors?
Oh, absolutely. I wouldn't be near where I am without them.
Now, I understand that you're also becoming a success coach.
I am. So I just recently went through the the success certification course. I got certified.
Nice.
And so that was very happy to get that stamp of approval. And now the next step is to interview through Success Coaching themselves to see if I can get on their staff. You understand? It's very selective. By no means any guarantee I'll get on, but I'll still be able to coach as a Success certified coach either way.
That's awesome. Congrats.
Oh, thank you. And, I didn't really do this to really build a coaching business. I love helping people and already help a lot of people. So I've got a pretty big team and really just want to develop into a better leader and serve them in a deeper and more effective way. So that was the first reason for getting this. And then anything else that comes out of it in terms of coaching clients, that's just gravy on top.
Right. Now, it's just another stream of passive income, more or less, which, eXp is all about the different streams of income. And it's not, just the buy and sell side. There's just so much more that eXp offers.
Right.
Now, I understand you have a fairly large team.
Yes. I just hit 2,350 agents today.
Wow. That's amazing.
It's been a fun and wild ride, I'll say that.
Now, how long have you been with eXp?
I joined August 26th of 2016. So,
oh, wow.
6 years.
Now, there probably wasn't the amount of agents that we have now when you signed up. I mean, that's still back in the beginning stages of eXp.
Yes. I guess it's all relative. We've been around since 2009. So, but it still felt a lot more like a startup.
Mm-hmm.
The change has been, we've been very much more in the exponential curve since then. So when I joined, we had about 1,700 agents, and if you think about it, put it in real estate development terms, it was a new neighborhood. The streets were still dirt, the sales office was a little mobile trailer, an empty lot, and there wasn't much there. But it's been fun, seeing this company develop to what it is today. And I knew it was going in that it had a bright future ahead of it. I could see the potential for the model. I knew there was a lot of growth ahead, but quite frankly, I way underestimated how big it would get.
Absolutely. Now, what are the top things that you would mention to an agent that, has heard about eXp, but hasn't really got full knowledge? What is some like the top 3 things that you would explain to an agent that they might be missing out on when it comes to eXp?
Okay. So first off, there's a lot of information and misinformation out there, whether it comes from other agents, from social media, other people's opinions. Okay. If you really want to learn what it's about, make sure you watch a professional presentation, get the full picture, not just little snippets here and there, because there's so much to it and it's actually a lot to absorb at once. And, you may need to get a second presentation, maybe from, a different perspective and everything, but, it's, you can't really learn the model just by hearing a little bits and pieces from somebody in a casual conversation.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the first thing. And then, a lot of it's really math, and, the math doesn't lie. It's not for everybody, but I think for the vast majority of people, run the numbers, find somebody who can actually run a spreadsheet, compare, what your current numbers are, what your forecast for 2023 is, your current brokerage versus eXp, and then project that out, so at least you can make an educated decision that's not based purely on emotion.
Right.
And aside from that, it's like one thing I think really doesn't come out that it's hard to really state in any kind of presentation or anything. It's just the culture. The fact that we're all agent owners. We're all helping each other. It's like, hey, we're not in the same line. I don't directly benefit from being in your podcast, and you don't directly benefit from interviewing me, but we all want to help each other. A rising tide raises all ships. And so, just creating one big fire, helping to grow this company to the best it can be and everything. And I think that unless you've really been around, like at an event or around a lot of eXp agents, it's hard to really get that feeling.
Absolutely. I think that the culture and the collaboration since I've been here is one of the big things that draws me to this company, because real estate's such a competitive field. I mean, you're used to competing against all of the agents in your market. And with eXp, everyone's got their hand out going, how can I help you?
Absolutely. I made friends in real estate before I got into eXp. But since joining, eXp, this has become my family of choice. It's really my second family.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So now, you said that you still invest in multifamily. Do you do other types of investments as well?
Yes, it's very little public investments aside from eXp stock, most of which has been given to me.
Mm-hmm.
But the multifamily is the primary. I do some commercial real estate, triple net, single unit. I'm in a fund for that. It's buying things like Family Dollars, auto parts stores, drug stores, things like that. And that's just very steady cash flow because it's all triple net. We just get the rent and the tenant takes care of everything else. Then I'm in actually a couple of oil and gas fields where we bought, I think they each have about 50 to 60 different wells on them and are producing oil and natural gas. That's been actually doing really well. Let's see, what other syndications have I gotten into? I did one that's buying factored debt for law firms that it's kind of hard to explain in a nutshell, but they're generating all these receivables from people who kind of got it cheated out of the system by collectors, and they invalidate the debt, and the lawyers charge for that, and then they sell the debt to our fund, and then we get it at a pretty good yield. And gotten into Bitcoin mining syndication. That's not one of my winners right now, but some are better than others.
As some things go, it seems they always come back around. Everything,
absolutely.
What comes up comes down, but it always goes back up.
Yes, and I'm a big believer in crypto. I invest outside of syndications too, and most of my positions are up. Some are not, but I think overall, it's over time. I'm still a big believer.
Yeah, my son does a lot of crypto, and he keeps telling me, "Mom, you got to get into this," and I'm like, I don't understand it yet. So I guess I'll have to talk with you some more when it comes to crypto.
Yeah, absolutely. And what I really advocate is just learn Bitcoin. Start off with that. That's the for lack of a better word, the gold standard. And there's a lot of ways to get wrecked in a lot of other coins, but that one, the fundamentals, I think, are still very solid. And there's other good ones too, but I think it all starts with that.
That's awesome. Now I have to ask, how did you get into like the mining? I mean, how did that even come about? I mean, because from real estate to mining, I mean, there's a big difference there.
Well, so it happened that I was already a crypto enthusiast, and these folks that I've already invested with, that debt was called the debt validation fund from the lawyers.
Mm-hmm.
They came up with this Bitcoin mining syndication, and actually it was two different funds. So one of them is actually the facility fund, and that pays me a straight like 1% per month return. And that thing is performing like clockwork. So I get paid every month, no matter what. And then the other was actual buying the mining machines, and the operations of it. And we've faced with all kinds of challenges. We've had, first it was acquiring machines. It was real hot and everything. And then it's finding facilities to put it in, getting favorable energy agreements and all that. So it's been up and down. it's still paying out and everything, but it's just it's kind of weird because right now you usually have an inverse relationship between your the cost of Bitcoin and your well, it's a positive relationship, and your hash rate. So when your cost comes down, your hash rate goes down, which makes it easier to mine. So you can mine more, and it kind of helps compensate partially for a lower price. But now, and tell me, I hope I won't go too far off here, but now Ethereum switched recently from proof of work to proof of stake. Okay, so it used to be mined like Bitcoin. Now it's not. It doesn't need all the mining machines. So a lot of those Ethereum machines have been repurposed into Bitcoin mining. And so now you've got a high hash rate but a low price. That's not made the economics very favorable lately.
Interesting. I find that the different options in investing is, it's just kind of mind blowing. I haven't dug deep enough into it, which I obviously should get into more of the investment side because there's a lot to be had there.
Yeah, I came from a corporate finance background
There
prior
you
to real
go.
estate, and I've got both my degrees are in finance, so I've always just naturally gravitated to all that kind of stuff. I love it.
That's awesome. Well, I really appreciate you taking time out of your day to spend a few minutes with me and my audience. So to end this, if you could give one piece of advice to those real estate agents out there in the industry, what would it be?
That's a tough one. I guess it really depends on where you're at in your career and what you're trying to accomplish. But I think just one general bit of advice is, we all know that this is a tough industry, and I know a lot of people are probably going through challenges right now. But you're not a failure until you give up. Persevere, keep going. If things aren't going your way, find a way to pivot, do something differently. If you're looking at this right now, you're a different brokerage. I highly encourage you to look at eXp. Very closely. It has changed my life in ways I cannot even describe. Not just give me financial freedom, but time freedom, which is,
Priceless.
been incredible. Yeah, it's priceless. And so, and we've got all the different resources to help you succeed. The coaching, mentorship, training, systems, tools, collaboration, everything. So I don't think there's any reason why anybody, who's got the willpower and tenacity to succeed should become a victim of this market.
That's great advice. Great advice. Well, thank you so much, Chris. I really appreciate your time and all of the little tidbits that you shared. And I just want to thank you for popping in here and sharing with my audience today.
Absolutely. Well, hey, thanks for having me on, Tamra. It's a pleasure talking with you.
Absolutely. And to all of you out there, make sure that you check in on Chris because I'll drop his links here as well. And we'll see you on the next episode